turning experiences into art.
And see what we do here? We help each other find our own healing.
Welcome, everybody. I am Kuyani Denise, your friend and self-healing coach.
And I am April Diane, self-care coach. And we are
the Q&A Exchange.
Yes. We're so excited. This is episode 2 of Know Better, Do Better. No, this is episode 2 of the 2-part series of Know Better, Do Better. But this is, you're right. You are so right. This is episode what? 4?
I wrote it down. Episode 4. This is episode 4. But it's episode 2 of Know Better, Do Better.
But this is episode 2 of, like she said, Know Better, Do Better. So our topic for today is saying yes to you. We have a special guest with us, and I'm going to allow her to introduce herself as well. But she's a wonderful woman of God, of the universe, of spirit, always working toward living as her highest self, as her best self. And I'm just really excited to have her come on today and share with us her story. Her name is Balani Lay, and I'm going to go ahead and let Balani Lay share with you a little bit more about who she is and how she shows up in the world.
Oh gosh, that was such a grand entry there, ladies. But I'm so blessed and honored myself. My name is Balani Lay. If you want to go with my name, my last name was just Patterson, and I'll share a little bit about that. But I go by Balani Lay Indigo Starseed because with this journey, I have found out who my spiritual tribe is, and I am an Indigo Starseed myself. So that's why I call myself that. My journey is, like many others, but different in the respect of, I'm the one that had to go through it. I have, traveled this journey with being married 3 times, having 3 children, being without parents or the short interaction that I have, and all of the experiences that I have had. I don't placate to victim of it as I used to when I was younger, but I have found a lot of strength in that, and that it has pushed me into knowing myself more, or digging deeper, and being able to embrace right, wrong, and indifferent who I am today. And just hope that my story that I share is able to help someone else. So yeah, as a light worker.
Question already.
Awesome. So you're saying basically that you've used all of your experiences to tap into who you are. It sounds like to me. And that's so good, because that's what we're about here at the Q&A Exchange, is turning our experiences into art, right? And then learning how to navigate all of the different experiences that we've had. And we have, using them, extracting the wisdom, applying the lessons, if there are, significant lessons for us, and sharing them.
Co-creating. Yeah. One of the key things is that we co-create with our existence. So we're here. We're going to experience these different things. We're going to go through stuff. Are we going to be a part of what we're to become as a result of these experiences, or are we going to just let them happen to us? And we've decided that we're going to be a part of what we become.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I think you were talking about, Balani Lay, when you said, I'm not a victim. I share certain parts of what happened. Some things are good. Some things feel good. Some things feel bad. Right. But to be a victim would mean like we kind of just lay out and just let things happen to us. When we decide to be a victor and to, start to become the alchemist that we are, right? Using experiences to transform ourselves, then we step out of victimhood and we start to take ownership of the choices that we make, right? And how they manifest in our lives. We start taking ownership and responsibility for how we show up in the world. We start to become more aware, more conscious of the patterns that we are, navigating through and working through. And, a lot of what I experience comes from like a torch that has been passed down to us. We get leftover assignments from our ancestors. And so that's important for us to recognize too. But I want to bring it back into our topic for today, which is know better, do better, and saying yes to you. The first thing that, I was going through your story, and there's so many different tidbits within the story, but there were quite a few that were surrounding the idea of, self-abandonment, and putting other people before yourself. Right? I feel like that's something that the three of us have in common. So can you remember early on, because remember, guys, that we're talking about now, we are reframing this because from the experiences that she had about, putting other people first, she got certain results, right? And so we want to talk about how that happened when you started first becoming aware that you were doing that, putting other people first. And then how did it feel when you started saying yes to you? Was it an easy transition? Is it an easy transition that you navigate on a daily basis? So we'll start with, first and foremost, when did you start to become aware that you were abandoning yourself?
And can I also add a sub question to that?
So you want to add it now, or you want to does it go in align with that? Okay, go ahead.
I feel like it does. So your question was, when did you notice that you started to self-abandon? And my question is, do you know the origin? Like, where did it come from? Why were you doing it? Because we're talking about the beginning of it. So
yes. The root of it, the root of the thing. Yes. And definitely part of me in writing this story, because we're sharing my story, it was almost like God was revealing it to me while I was writing it. The root of where this rejection, the seed planted, and where it started from. Because without you really realizing and digging deep and revealing and uncovering where the seed started from, that's why we kind of go, with not being healed completely in certain areas of our lives, because you have to get to the root of it, pull that thing up spiritually, however, and doing the work, the self-love work. And then you can go to the next thing that needs to be, mastered, so to speak. So when you said that, I was writing the question, my answer was, the seed of rejection that was planted, it's planted at an early age. Once my mother had to leave me with my uncle and my and his wife, and that was like at the age of 7 or 8. And in the beginning, of course, everything was hunky-dory, but from there came the inconsistencies of not really having the stableness, because I was with my mom sometimes, and then she was dealing with her mental illness, and I didn't know much about mental illness or how to handle that. My uncle and my auntie weren't getting along in their marriage. And so I was, as a child, getting the brunt of all of these things. So it started there, because there I felt like I really had nowhere to express myself or feel safe with adults, the adults that I had, were giving me at the time, and so I had to, and then later it just evolved to, okay, well, what else am I going to add into my toxic bag of, thinking or rejection or self-loathing and stuff like that. And then came, once I left and got older, I started, looking for men because I didn't have my father, in my life at the time. So it started then with the me. Well, I felt like, okay, well, because my nature is a giver. My nature is to give love and affection and all these type of things, but I did not know how to balance that, if that makes sense, And it's real important because the duality sides of us, the dark and the light are needed. They're necessary. It can't always be peaches and cream. Sometimes there is a time for war, And so I kind of lost myself in being unaligned in, I just want to be good. Or I just want to be, I just want to love and da, da, da. In the meantime, I'm not being spiritually smart enough to take care of myself and know when to set those boundaries. So there was no teaching. I didn't have it. So of course I had to go through heck and high water to get to the place where, oh, damn, I guess I should actually start protecting myself, if somebody try to come for me, really, I would just have to say in my late 40s, early 50s, I'm only 52, and I'm still learning that. But it was like a light bulb came off because I saw that the way that I was doing things and me putting myself out there and being the giver and being this and doing all that stuff was taking away my energy. It was taking away from my light. It was either going to turn me into this bitter Black woman that people always talk about, that that I've seen and experienced myself, and trying to maintain the energy of a balanced love, and not take away from who I was, who God made me, the nature of me. And so I just learned to just start saying, you know what? Okay, it's okay for me to say no. It's okay for me to set those boundaries. And that came really later on in my, like I say, my latter years. But the root of it was rejection when I was placed with my auntie and uncle. That's where it started, the seed.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah. Like that. It's amazing. The things that you brought out are, there's so much there. The be good, be nice, right? That whole thing that we get as kids, that manipulation, that we get from adults, trying to be accepted, trying to get the love. And a lot of times what I've observed is our desire to give out all of that love comes from the fact that we know what it feels like to not have it and experience it. So we're trying to give it.
Make sure somebody else gets it.
Make sure. Yeah. That's a trauma response.
I've said in the past, and it was a realization that I just came to last year, that me giving love the way that I did was kind of my way of giving it back, because no one else was giving it to me. So to give it, like gift giving, you give gifts because you want people to have what you're giving them and you enjoy it, but it makes you feel good.
Reciprocation.
That they're enjoying. Exactly. So it was that I wasn't getting the love back, but if I give it, I know I'm giving it and I'm real about it, and that makes me feel good. That was the only way I could be compensated in my mind.
So you get into your mind that it's your responsibility to make other people feel good.
Yeah.
Because you learn these certain quotes that we have, you get what you give, and, reciprocation and all this type of stuff. But you don't realize that because, you attract all type of different energies towards yourself. So we have to be discerning enough to know who deserves that type of respect and honor to give that kind of reciprocation to, no, does it not, it shouldn't stop you from being who you are, but it should have a cutoff period. At some point you have to evaluate to save yourself first, before you start, seeing people who are just there to take and not give back into the pot, and then they go on their way, to doing that for someone else. But and so that's what plants the seed of the person being bitter, or a person being bitter, because you're seeing like, okay, you give from a universal principle or standpoint from the laws of you reap, harvest, and reaping. You plant a seed, it comes up. But now, in knowing that you can set boundaries with that, I don't have to. If my energy or my space is being disrespected or disregarded at any point, and if I feel it, whether it's it triggers something or not, I have the right to say, you know what? Let me back up. Stop right here, and I'm giving you what I give, and I know now spiritually how to withdraw my energy back. I'm taking all my energy back. I'm taking my coat, I put it on. I'm out. So,
yes.
And that feel no kind of way about
it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing when you start to value yourself. Like, I think first off, so you answered about the origin, right? Mm-hmm. So you recognize that where it stemmed from. Mm-hmm. But what, and I'm going to say this, but in your story, you talk about it being hard, to apply the lessons that to do. And that's why this story, that's why this series is called Know Better, Do Better, right? Because that's a fallacy that we have in our world, that when you know better, you do better. People say that, right. But that's not always the case. You can know better and still not do what you know to do. And right. That is related to the fact that you don't feel, there may be a couple different factors.
Yes.
It may be because you don't feel worthy, right? Or it may be because you are you're out of practice. You have. So I bring that up because I wanted to say that we are very young. We learn things. We are conditioned, right? We learn habits. Consciously, and most of that is going into our subconscious because we're not rational thinkers yet. That part of our brain is not active. It's not developed yet. And so we're being programmed, if you will, to whatever the environment that is around us. And the people that are around us and how they behave and respond. Even though as children, a lot of times we do know better. We see adults and know when they wrong, right? But we're too little to assert any authority. We have no authority at that time. Right. So even though, and adults will say this, I probably have said it myself, I'm older than you. I've been here longer than you. But that you know better than the child. Children, they come, they're so innocent. They know nice and not nice. We teach them the very things that we teach them. But then we also, when we teach them certain things, we also don't follow what we teach them. So we expect them to behave at a higher standard than we are modeling a lot of times. And all adults are guilty of it, like it's just, because it's like what the seeds that we plant into children, they're kind of a hope, I hope that you can do better than me, than what I'm doing, but I bring again, all of that to say is that know better, do better, and why it's so hard to sometimes make the changes that we know are necessary to help us to live a better quality of life is because of the programming that we experienced. Yes. And so it's through our expository work, this work that we're doing here, writing out our stories, examining our feelings, looking back at the origin, that we become more aware and more conscious. And then from there, we can make some changes. Right?
Most definitely. It's that old saying of, do as I say, not as I do. We've heard that one, ain't we?
We have heard that one.
You know what I'm saying? But I understand as my spiritual journey continues, I the Spirit revealed to me about the 7 elements and what He exposed to me about those 7 elements, because you have your environment, you have your spiritual, you have your diet, you have your economic, you have the other ones, whatever, your emotional, and all these things. And so what Spirit told me about that is most of the time, each of us are either unaligned out of either all of them, or 3 out of 5 of them, 2 out of 7, 1 out of 7, whatever it is. We're unaligned. So where the work comes in is that we have to look at each area of those 7 elements. Okay, what can I do differently here? What can I do differently with my emotions? What can I do differently with my diet? What can I do differently with my spiritual heart? These are, and it's no coincidence that there's 7 chakras, mind you.
Come on.
There's no coincidence.
7 main chakras. 7 main chakras.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. So when you look at that and how that is connected, how that, those things are really connected, you start to now can break down a little bit easier what areas need that work where you can do better, as you say. So that's what I just, and so I would try to pick one of the 7 elements, and I'm saying, today I'm going to, work on this, or, today I'm going to work on, my diet, and say, hey, I'm going to eat, a piece of fruit instead of some candy, or whatever it is. So today I'm going to work on, meditating for 5 to 15 minutes instead of looking at TV, or, something to replace the habit. And because, like you said, we never learned these things when we're younger. And these, I don't know if you guys heard about Dr. What's his name? Oh gosh, he's one of the people, but anyway, it'll come to me. But he speaks about the brain and these patterns that are learned. Dr. Dispenza. That's his name.
Dr. Joe Dispenza. Yeah,
Dr.
we're
Joe
fans.
Dispenza. Yes. So, he talks about that, reprogramming, rewiring that habit. And it does take discipline, but the fact is that when we keep practicing something over and over again, even if it's baby steps, even if it's small steps, it will eventually catch up, and that will be our main practice, so to speak. That's what I find from my experience. And I don't beat myself up anymore like I used to, about, oh my gosh, I missed it. Dang it. I wouldn't got that daggone Haagen-Dazs ice cream. What in the world? It just is what it is.
You give yourself some grace, right? You give yourself some grace. I give myself
grace and mercy because I am my biggest critic. So you can imagine how hard I am on others and judgmental. If I'm this hard on myself, can you imagine how I am on someone else?
Yeah.
So, my girlfriend told me something that I carry to this day. Tend to your own garden. You got enough stuff in it to tend to, boo. Stop.
Oh, that's
tend to your garden.
That's good. And that brings us back to saying yes to you, because you're talking about the caregiver mentality. And I want to talk about the caregiver mentality and how it relates to how it connects with self-abandonment.
Yeah. Well, see, the spiritual gifts that we all have, as far as me being an empath or a nurturer or wanting to be of service, I wasn't taught the other side about how to set the boundaries.
Yeah, so to receive, in essence.
To receive, exactly. Okay. So I'm going to share a story because when I just came back from Costa Rica, a couple of, in November, December, or whatever, and I tried the plant medicine ayahuasca. Now, ayahuasca is known to be a very gentle medicinal plant where it's not going to expose anything to your third eye that you are not able to handle. It's a very gentle plant, but it will bring up things, and it will allow you to purge in whatever way you feel the spirit allows you to. Now, I know they had the buckets and all that stuff on the side, but I didn't purge that way. I purged through my tears. And we had 3 ceremonies. We had some shamans there and everything, beautiful environment, this, villa and stuff like that. And so in the first ceremony, of course, I was, nervous. This is unknown to me. I don't know, I'm around all these white people. I'm sorry. These white people, I'm the only one, a person of you there.
I've seen the ads online, and I ain't seen no black people in them. So,
and I love the tribal sisters. They part of my tribe too as well. But you know,
you ain't seen no representation of you.
There was
we
no
get
representation of me. You know, so I'm there, and I'm like, all right, God, you done placed me in this environment. I'm grateful to be there and experience this. And so I went ahead and we did it the first time, and I'm nervous, I'm antsy, you know, like I'm a crackhead, just can't sit still, blah, blah, blah. So then, you know, the second time, I know.
Go on, girl, say your story. It's fine.
The second time we had our ceremony, you know, they were telling us, you know, you need to really start setting your intentions about what you want to get out of this whole ordeal that you're doing while you're on this plant medicine. So I started journaling and saying, okay, let me start settling down and really just try to get the most out of this opportunity with this plant medicine. So the second time was better. I wasn't moving around as much. I really just, I did purge again through, you know, my tears. Some things came up about my children, some things of relationships that I had to deal with. And, but I saw different spirits and energy and stuff that made me feel protected and safe. The third time was the finale. Oh my gosh. So when the third time I'm into the groove now, I done got this thing down pat. I'm feeling good. We about to do this last thing here. I even took a little bit more ayahuasca. I was like, give me some more, you know, put it in the cup, you know.
Light me up. Keep telling your story. I gotta make sure my phone is charged. So my thing is charged. Keep going.
Go ahead. So I'm sitting up here. I go ahead and we have the last ceremony. And when you spoke about that, about me being able to receive. So the third time I'm laying down, and it was like, oh my gosh, it was like the ancestors and the tribal family had come to grant me these spiritual gifts. And they told me that I had to sit still and receive. While this plant medicine was working and healing all of those broken parts of me. And when I had to they said, your only job is to sit here and to receive. And that was so phenomenal to me. And so I'm seeing these different tribes come, you know, I got this wand that was given to me the spiritual wand. And I got all of these spiritual gifts that they showed me. Like, and I know it sounds crazy, but it was like they gave me I became a gatekeeper, you know, and they told me they gave me a third. There's 3 level sets of wings because we know numbers are significant. Absolutely. So I only had 2. So they gave me my third layer of wings. And it was just like they had initiated me to this thing like, okay, it's time, you graduated, and it's time for you to start acting in your gifts. And I learned so much from just saying, you know, allowing me to just be still and be able to receive all of this stuff. It just all came together and made sense. All of the giving and stuff I was doing and all this stuff and trying to be, you know, everything for everybody else. They say, you know what, you're going to sit here. You're going to receive all of these gifts. This is for you. We having a spiritual graduation for you, Balani. Balani last.
I love that so much. Yeah. So many things just came up for that. You know, you allowed you were out of practice of receiving.
Yes.
And you were, because a lot of us are taught, you know, it's better to give than to receive, as you mentioned, right? And then when you look back at your origins, you were in an environment where you were trying to show your worth, right? Yes. And so you probably were giving a lot there. And so it made it very difficult for you to become a receiver. So you were attracting people who consistently would take from you, because that's the vibration that you were in. You were a giver, so they were takers. But on the same note, when you started to become more conscious and aware of how you were showing up, it sounds like the opportunity, you made a choice also to go to this wonderful seminar that you went to. And it was like, okay, now once you made the choice,
yes, come on
right?
now.
Once you started to see that I am worthy, right? And then started taking actions in alignment with your worthiness. Then spirit, the universe, all of that just said, okay, well, I had all of these gifts here waiting for you to
Come on now. Come on.
I was waiting for you. That's what spirit basically says to us. I know that journey. We know that journey because we've been on it. And it does come to, it has to start with our awareness, right? Of it. It has to start with our decision to start saying yes to ourselves. And once we make that choice, then things do align. It's sometimes quite messy, but things do align for us. So very powerful. Kuyani, you have something?
Not on that. I wanted to go back a little bit.
Okay, so let's do that.
This is powerful. This is awesome. This is actually, I had mentioned to you a few months ago that about the ayahuasca retreat. It was actually that one in Costa Rica.
Wow.
Yes, I think I remember that.
You went on one?
No, I didn't go.
Okay.
I was thinking.
I'd love to see more of us there. I want to see more of us there.
So when you said that about, it was all white people. When I went on the website to look at who was in the room, I mean, like there was once where they were all seated at a table, and I'm like, and all the way down at the end of the table, I saw like what might have been a black person. It may have been, I don't know, but I was like,
you saw sis over there in the corner, like,
hello. I want to make sure that I come back home. You know, because
Lord,
I don't know. But
you sunk into the floor. Okay,
back.
Got you.
You were first introducing yourself, and you said something. When I decided not to play the victim anymore, and I wanted to know, how did you know that you were playing the victim? Because I think we hear that a lot. I don't think we all are doing that. I don't think that we all know when we're doing it initially. So how do you know that you play the victim?
I think because it's kind of like you placate when you learn manipulative tactics from other people, right? And I call it emotional blackmail. That's what I've learned to call it. And so you use, I mean, if that's all you know, you put that in your bag of goodies and your little toxic bag of goodies, and okay, well, maybe this will work, or maybe that'll work, or, you know. And so to get this attention, or to think that you're going to stop them from rejecting you, stop them from hurting you, whatever it is. And it does none of that. It does none of that. So that, for me, I just realized that, I just emulated my environment, what I was taught. I didn't know any different. So, as I started more tapping into spirit and digging deep into myself, like, spirit, like, that's manipulation, girl. Stop that. Okay. I even went further. I have to share this one too, is that, when my first husband, and because he was on, drugs, crack, cocaine epidemic really hit Black families back then in the early 80s and 90s. And so he suffered from that. And I was doing everything I thought to do to manipulate him to stop. We had 2 kids. You know what I'm saying? I need to go to church. I'm going to church, God. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, God will change them. Do I need to act like I'm gonna kill myself? All right, I'm gonna admit myself into the hospital so he'll, feel sorry for me and come and get me. Didn't work. I was just hurting myself. I was just hurting myself and doing all of these acts, fictitious acts, to get attention, just so I could not be rejected.
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Wow.
You know what? It's coping. You know, it's how we cope. It's what happens when you're in survival mode. As we mentioned, you know, when you're in toxic environments, especially when you're young, you learn how to survive. Right. And so you do things that may not be the best for you, and they can be toxic behaviors as well. So, I mean, go ahead.
No, that part. Go ahead.
Yeah.
that part.
And that part. Yeah.
Part right
So,
there.
but the point that you bring up, Balani, is, and they say it biblically too, right? You're held accountable to that which you know. And the reason that we're held accountable, I don't believe that it's because there's God that's watching over us, taking score.
Right.
I think it is our consciousness that once you know that something, and know in your spirit, because you could do something and not know it's wrong because you've been in an environment where it's been normalized, right?
Exactly.
So that can happen too. But once you become aware that, that behavior that I'm doing is manipulative, that ain't not right. Right. So then you can see why other people manipulating you, because you learn some bad behaviors and whatnot. But once you become aware of it, that's when I feel like you're held accountable by your own consciousness. Because then you can't sleep at night because you're like, dang, I know I shouldn't have did that. You know, I know I need to do this better or whatever, you know. So I think, you know, it's knowing is half the battle. G.I. Joe said that, right? And it's true, right? It's like we have to take action on that which we know. And we do have to come to a close with our segment here. But it's just been so great. I don't want to, but
that's okay.
But I do want to say that, you know, to bring back to our topic, knowing better, doing better, like that's what our focus is here with the Q&A exchange, is to expose ourselves, if you will, to, and then just our experiences, just to sit and just to reflect on them, because reflection, you know, sitting in stillness, like how you were explaining, which is phenomenal. We have to do that daily in order to process what we go through. Otherwise, we're just going to keep repeating the same thing. And that's why we get stuck in patterns, because we're not taking enough time to stop and be still. And be still.
The art of doing nothing.
Yeah, the art of doing nothing, right? I think, and you even talked about that in your story. You said, and your story, we're also going to be read your whole story. You can listen to Balani Lay's entire story. You visit the website aprildiane.com, and you will see all of her story is going to be there. On our YouTube channel. You can also visit inherwork.com. That's Kuyani Lewis is for her followers. That's her.
Kuyani Denise.
I'm sorry, Kuyani Denise.
Kuyani
Denise.
I love it.
My bad. Well, look, sis, hold up. Like, since we going there, right? Real talk, real now. Let me do this right here, because you the one messed it up. Okay, look what you got as your screen name up there while you're playing. Right, I just fixed it. But you know, I love that, because when she started saying yes to herself, she renamed herself. You know,
come on now.
When she started, she gave her own self her name. She said, I know who I am. And so that's a whole nother part of it. When you start saying yes to you, you start becoming who you are. Right? Yes, in your truth. And you have to learn who that is. You know, that's also a process. But I wanted to bring it back because, like we said, you know, know better, do better. She was saying that Bulani Lay, and I have felt this myself, where when you are living without setting boundaries, right? No matter how painful it is to set them, right? When you are living in that, when you are abandoning yourself to take care of others so that you can get love from external, right? To pour into you instead of finding out how to love within you, then you do start to feel like you're stuck in on like a hamster wheel. It starts to feel just all very redundant, you know, like a programming. There's no creativity, there's no life. You know, it's just some old tape that just keeps on playing. And she says it. She says, it was like the world was passing me by and I was stuck in time. And I was stuck in time with no idea of where I was going or where I would land.
Listen.
Come on now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was my whole 18-year marriage. Come on.
Girl, come on now. Preach.
I was like,
so no
like,
matter
how the Zoom freezes, people talking and you freeze like this.
Wait a minute, the Tin Man.
You were So the important thing that we want to highlight here is that no matter how painful it is to set boundaries, to start saying yes to you and no to things that are not serving you, it is necessary in order for you to start feeling and experiencing life to the fullest.
Yes,
you have to honor you, and then what begins to happen is you teach people how to also value and honor you too, so they get it. What they say, you get them all the way together.
Come on now.
when you get yourself together and say, listen, no, I'm not tolerating that no more.
Yeah.
You also get the energy around you gets together. Okay.
Everybody got to line up or they got to leave.
And
line
that's
up
it.
or they got to leave.
Some people will leave and some people will line up and also salute and support you. So I just want to say that I'm really proud of you for taking the steps. You titled your story, Spiritual Rags to Spiritual Riches. And I'm so proud of you for sitting and receiving your spiritual riches. We're looking forward to seeing all of the great gifts that you will bring and the gifts that we can pour onto you as well as part of the Q&A exchange community. We're looking forward to seeing how, all of it unfolds.
Yes.
Like I said, you'll be able to listen to her entire story on our YouTube channel. And we will definitely have Balani Lay back again to discuss a little further.
I'd love to be here.
Privy to hear the beautiful prayer that she did in the beginning for us for our sisterhood, but it was so beautiful. And so we're gonna, maybe she'll come on sometime and talk a little bit more about some of those gifts that she received when she went from spiritual rags to spiritual riches. So thank you again, Balani Lay, for joining us today. Thank you.
Such an honor. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.